Coming up, we are sitting down with Sacheen Littlefeather days before she is set to be honored by the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. And we preview the upcoming People of the Ocean Festival. Plus, Valentina Clitso is the newly crowned Miss Navajo Nation. She tells us about her story. I am Aaliyah Chavez. Join us for those interviews, plus headlines from the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Arizona PBS is proud to support Indian Country Today. For 6 decades, we've provided television programs and now digital content. But we go beyond that, sending outreach teams across Arizona, offering workshops in language and literacy, family engagement and community outreach, and supporting tribal communities with early learning and school readiness resources. Join us at azpbs.org.
This is the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez.
Amarawa Hopa, thank you for joining us. Experts have identified more than 150 policy changes in a new report on native farming. This week, the Native Farm Bill Coalition released Gaining Ground. The 136-page document outlines ways to strengthen food security and infrastructure for tribal nations and native producers. The report will ultimately be used to make recommendations for the 2023 Farm Bill being introduced in the U.S. Congress. Indian Country is a leading force in the nation's agriculture. More than 80,000 native producers contribute an estimated $3.5 billion to the economy. The report says, despite this, many tribes rely on federal nutrition assistance for survival. That is coupled with native producers who face many obstacles in accessing USDA programs. Experts are calling on legislation to make farming loans accessible to tribal providers, as well as giving greater support to use tribal ecological knowledge. There is a new push to return land rights to Indigenous people in California's Bay Area. Last week, leaders from the city of Oakland said it was beginning the process of returning 5 acres of land to Indigenous stewardship. The site is known as Sequoia Point. The move started as an idea from a Native woman-led nonprofit. If approved by the city's council, the city would remain the owners, but would allow the nonprofit and local tribes to use the land. The Indigenous stakeholders would be permitted to restore natural resources, resume cultural practices, and continue gathering native food and plants.
I imagine a place called Oakland now, that has running streams again. A place that has been abundant for thousands and thousands of years. A place that there is no more hunger or homelessness. A place where we can all live together, taking care of one another. The Segorte Land Trust is really about reimagining the world in that kind of a way.
A community meeting was also held Tuesday where public comments were given about the idea. Moving forward, the City Council is expected to consider the land return in November. Young Inuit people are learning ways to uphold their traditions and modern technology in a changing landscape. ICT's Pacey Smith-Garcia has the story.
There's a new program for middle and high school students in Nunavut in northern Canada. The Young Hunter program teaches these students time-tested Inuit hunting practices, and it also blends new technology. The program is run by the Aquarium Society. The teachings come as hunting is a key practice in the far northern regions. Grocery costs are high in the area due to shipping prices from the south. Over time, the process of hunting has changed. Items of hunting such as kayaks and harpoons have changed to motorboats and rifles. Kokik Baker is the executive director of the program. In an interview with Hakai magazine, she said, "We want our kids to grow up to have the skills to use the best of both worlds." The land and the sea have also changed because of climate change. The waters on the coast have receded, posing threats for boats. The reefs and the rocks that were previously deep underwater are now barely covered and can cause wrecks. The Young Hunter program also works to ensure the shifting coasts are properly mapped using a program called hydroblock technology. Organizers say this software not only maps routes, but also maps tomorrow's Inuit identity. In Phoenix, Arizona, Pacey Smith-Garcia, ICT News.
That beautiful footage came from Hakai Magazine, headquartered from Victoria, Canada. Well, the White House's Office of Management and Budget is announcing its first ever tribal advisor. Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa citizen Elizabeth Carr has been named to the post. This new historic position is the first of its kind in the office and was created out of conversations with Indigenous leaders. Part of her new duties will include coordinating tribal priorities across the OMB. This year's OMB budget also includes proposals to significantly increase funding for the Indian Health Service, as well as to shift that funding to mandatory. Carr said she looks forward to building more partnerships with tribal leaders. And those are the headlines for the ICT Newscast. This weekend, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures is hosting an event called An Evening with Sacheen Littlefeather to honor her life's work. This comes after the Academy's apology to Littlefeather decades after she refused an Oscar award on behalf of actor Marlon Brando. ICT's senior editor Diana Hunt spoke to Sacheen Littlefeather this week, who is now battling terminal cancer.
First thing I want to know is, how's your health?
It could be better. It could be better, but I'm thankful for what I have. And, I get up every morning with a prayer, lots of gratitude. And in this latitude,
All right. I wanted to talk to you specifically because the impact that what you did had on Indigenous women, Indigenous young women, and older women, and what the apology means and what kind of message you think that it sends now.
Well, first of all, I never, ever, ever expected to get an apology from the Academy Awards. This is just something of a shock to me personally, and I never thought anything would ever happen like this in my whole lifetime. And it was totally unexpected. I never expected anything like this, ever. And I'm glad that I'm still alive to receive it. I became a nutritionist, a holistic health nutritionist, with a minor in traditional Indian medicine. That's herbology. And I worked in that chosen field, went to a lot of different reservations and gave workshops to Native people. And that's one of the things I did. Then I became a founder and a board member of the American Indian AIDS Institute in the early 1980s in San Francisco. And of course, I worked in hospice with Mother Teresa of Calcutta. So I did a lot of things that held my interest in the health field. And it was working with children who had cancer, leukemia. I don't rarely ever talk about these things. They're very personal, very beautiful to me. But there are many things that meant so much to me. I put a program together called a ropes course with some San Francisco police officers for inner city children who didn't have an opportunity to get out on a wilderness trek, and help put that together here in the Bay Area. and other such programs. Again, these are just personal things that I did that gave me an opportunity to express my interest. I also was a member of the Kateri Tekakwitha Circle and worked toward her sainthood in Rome that happened in 2012. And I actually went there for her canonization with 1,000 other Native American Indian people during her canonization. And that was also something that I had prayed for many, many years, and was very fortunate to be there. So these are a little bit of my interest during my lifetime.
It sounds like you have absolutely no regrets.
No, not at all. I promised myself when I was a young person. Here's a picture of me when I was young and gorgeous back in the day.
Yep.
I'm 75 right now. But when I was young and gorgeous back in the day, I promised myself one thing, that I would never be bored. And I never have been. And I've been far too busy to be looking to see what my neighbor's doing and be jealous or any of that sort of thing. And as a matter of fact, when other Native people or other people do something and they accomplish something, I'm more than happy for them. Because if you're envious of other people, I mean, there's always going to be somebody that's more accomplished than you, that's more gorgeous than you, that's richer than you, that has more things with you. So you're going to wear yourself out being gorgeous and waste all your energy. Just be the best you that you can be.
What message would you like to send to Indigenous people, but especially Indigenous women today? And things have changed, I guess, since 1973 in some ways, and in some ways they probably haven't.
Well, the doors are open now for Native Indian people in a way that they were not when I was younger. And I've lived through many, many things. But to see those doors open up little by little by little, it is a dream for me coming true. It didn't have to be me, but the doors are open. And when I see Native women before the screen, acting, producing, directing, boy, it makes my heart just sing. It makes it very full. I'm so happy to be able to know that this is going on. If I did anything to help in that direction, I am more than gratified.
Each year, the Aquarium of the Pacific celebrates and honors the relationship between tribes along California's coast and their connection to the ocean. That festival will be held this weekend. Joining us today is Cindy Alvitre to share more. Hi, Cindy. Thanks so much for being here.
Neha, good morning, Aaliyah.
So give us an idea of which tribes are involved in this festival.
Well, the Aquarium of the Pacific is located in Long Beach, California, which is a traditional land base of the Gabrielino Tongva and the Ahachman people. But also we have represented a lot of coastal maritime communities, including the Chumash and the Ohlone and different people who have now called Long Beach home. So we look forward to having everybody gather and celebrate and really to educate the public, and just to make sure that everybody is aware that they are on Indian land, and we don't go anywhere. You know, the world has changed significantly, but it's important that we assert ourselves and make our presence very known.
Tell us about the relationship some of those tribes have with the sea animals.
Well, let's see. As far as Gabrielino Tongva, I don't know. I think it's one of these things that people often ask, what is your relationship? Do you own the islands? Do you own the ocean? Or do you own those animals? And I think it's quite reverse, that they own us. You know, the whole rhetoric, the mantra that Native people are part of nature. We are nature. So a lot of those animals, and it's kind of a precarious situation with the aquarium because it is a zoo. And, you know, you have mixed feelings about these different relatives being confined in these spaces, but also realizing that the places like the aquarium are making efforts to assist them in having a future, such as the dolphins, our sea otters, which are very significant to our history. A lot of the different fish that were foodways, you know, the sea bass and you know, at one time we even had salmon in our rivers, and those are gone now. And you know, Long Beach is pretty much ground zero for first contact tribes of California along the coast. So it's a very bittersweet presence at the aquarium.
I want to move to this festival. For someone like me who's never had the chance to go, maybe explain what to expect and what kinds of programs will be put on.
Well, let's see, we have an outdoor area and we have the inside programming going on. Inside, we have different representation by different tribes who will be telling stories, creation narratives, sharing a lot of the songs, and also having display booths that show different aspects of the traditions, from foodways to textiles or basketry. Outdoors, it's a more lively scene because we are in the process, as Stan Rodriguez as an example, who's Kumeyaay, will be overseeing the process of building a tule canoe that we usually launch on Sunday. My particular community, the Tonga, we have our Tonga Basketry Collective. So we have 27 young basket weavers for the first time that will be coming out and displaying their baskets and teaching and educating the public. People doing other types of things, such as teaching people about the environment. You know, what about the water? What about the plants? What is the impact in our contemporary world to a lot of the traditional materials that we rely on for our medicine, our food, and for our spiritual practices?
For the non-Native attendees who attend this festival, what is their reaction when they're learning about, as you mentioned, the Indigenous people who have been in this land and taking care of this land and the ocean for a very long time?
Oh, geez, I think it's always a repetition. When we do so much work as Sacheen Littlefeather, and thank you for her interview, when she's saying, you know, we all contribute, we've done a lot of work, and even with a saturation point, we feel that we've saturated with our education abilities, certainly with our educators. And you always have a majority of people who do not know that Native people even exist in the area. And they're quite surprised, but I think the important part is that they understand that they also have an obligation to having a relationship, this reciprocity, these relationships as instructed by our ancestors, to help the water, to help the ocean, to help the earth, to help the air, to help all of our relationships. In Tonga, we refer to those as amupavetem, which is pre-human creations. And that's where our loyalties are to them and to our ancestors, all of our ancestors.
We only have a short time left here, Cindy, but each year the aquarium honors someone for outstanding community service, and you're getting this award this year. Congratulations. Just give us a quick reaction to what that means to you.
I'm very honored. I'm very, very honored by it. But I think Sacheen said the same thing. It's like, you know, that it's not about me. It's about something much larger. It's about access. It's about visibility. And, you know, it's who are we? Who are we? If it's not about our relationship to the nature, then it becomes something else. But I'm very honored. I'm excited. And, you know, my family will be there. My son will be coming out from Catalina Island That's kind of hometown to me. So excitement, it'll be fun. Well, it's a celebration of our survival and of our presence.
Well, Cindy, congratulations again to you, and I wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much, and good luck and best to you all.
Valentina Clitso won several awards last weekend, including Best Butcherer, Best Traditional Food, Best Essay, and Best Skill. She also won the highly coveted crown for Miss Navajo Nation. She joins us today in the studio to tell us about her experience. Welcome back to Phoenix, Valentina.
Well, thank you for having me here today, Yate.
Our viewers are meeting you for the very first time, so introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, Yate she Valentina Clitso Yenishia. Todachi Ninishlan, but Ahni Bashichin, Tor Hanadashache, Ashin Dashnele, Dislichin Brante Inasha. I'm Valentina Clitso, and thank you for having me here today. I am from the community of Black Mesa, and I'm proud to represent the Navajo Nation.
I want to learn about all of the competitions that you had to take part in to win this crown. Maybe tell us at a high level what kinds of competitions you had to take part in.
So the first competition we took part in was the butchering, and that was harvesting a sheep. And we used that to cook for the dignitaries, the volunteers, and we also gifted the contestants' parents with a sheep leg.
Oh my goodness. And you actually won in the category of Best Butcher. I was talking to a journalist at the ICT newsroom downstairs, and she was saying that that is a really big competition. So I wanted to ask you how you prepared for that competition specifically.
I've been butchering all my life, so that was one of the easiest ones for me to prepare for. But prior to the competition, I did have a lot of rest. That's something I recommend for that competition because it takes a toll on your body.
Yeah, I mean, let's actually talk more about that because it actually spanned several days. Maybe tell us, what the high points were for you, because I know you had to attend and give public speaking, and there was just a number of things that you had to do.
So the highlight of the week was the butchering, the traditional food. I really enjoyed the interview questions and also the traditional and contemporary skill and talents.
You also won Best Traditional Food. What did you make?
So we were required to make 5 different things. We had the Navajo tea, the intestine stir fry, the tortilla, the blue corn meal, and also there was one more item.
You're making me hungry here. I wanted to ask you if you had run for Miss Navajo Nation before.
This was my very first pageant, and so my very first time running for Miss Navajo.
And were you surprised by the outcome?
Yes, I was very much surprised because I didn't know what to expect. I'm new to the pageant world, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I'm really proud to call Gypsy P and Brianna Davis my sisters.
One of the parts about competing in pageants is that it's not only you up there, it's your family and so many people who have to support you behind the scenes. Maybe talk about, what your family had to contribute and what it means to you to have their support.
Well, my family was very supportive. Once I told them, they were like, yes, we'll get you outfits. We'll get you whatever you need in order to prepare, because I did all the preparation for the pageant myself. I wrote the essay myself and all the different components for the pageant, and they really stood behind me with outfits and jewelry and other physical aspects, and also my moccasins, yes.
Earlier in our newscast, we heard from Sacheen Littlefeather and Cindy Alvitre, and they were talking about what message they had for Indigenous women specifically. And I know you represent the Navajo Nation, but I think overall you're kind of a spokesperson for a lot of Indigenous people. So if you were talking to Indigenous women specifically, what message would you have for them?
I would say take care of yourself, love yourself, and continue to do great work in whatever field you're in, and just continue to work for your family, work for yourself, and take care of yourself. Yes.
You're in this position now for a year. What kinds of goals do you have, as you fulfill this role?
Yes. So my platform for this year is bringing our language back into the home. So I want to focus on just all sorts of individuals that are starting to learn the language, individuals that haven't learned the language, but really advocating for them to let them know that they're supported, they're loved, and they're appreciated in their language journey.
Yesterday on the newscast, we had someone on who was talking about voting, and November, of course, is just a few months away. So I'm curious if part of your platform will also be to encourage people to vote.
I really think it's important to vote, so yes, that is something you should be able to do.
Great. Well, Valentina, thank you so much for being here, and we're really excited to see what you do this year.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for having me.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
Sometimes you got to take a stand just because you know you can. Oh, you got to run, you got to run.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.